Tom Curran, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are my guys?
Tremendous.
So great.
Yay.
Thank you.
Yay.
Okay, so I need to start with something that feels like old news but is also new news. Tony Pauline, I believe that's how you pronounce it, out of Cleveland.
Yeah.
Had a little allusion to the Patriots being interested in or in on Myles Garrett and Max Crosby earlier this offseason. What do you make of that? Did you hear rumblings of that? Is it true? Break it down for me.
Well, Tony's a pretty trustworthy guy. He's been covering the NFL for a long time.
Yeah.
And he often gets things that other folks don't have. And because he doesn't have the biggest platform, you don't often hear about it. But if Tony reported it, and that's kind of the first I had heard of it right now, unfortunately, I'm sorry. Just a heads up before these things, let me know, and I can double check. But I would say it was probably tire kicking.
Yeah.
But we've heard alluded to a number of different times the notions the Patriots are willing to do something big and are anxious to do something big. And I certainly don't think that Stephon Diggs qualifies as bigness in the extreme. So I do think they're still in the market to try and make something happen, which I think is tremendous. They have a need for aggressiveness, but I don't think that the aggressiveness, and I talked about this on Quick Slants the other day, should be totally directed at 2025. I did a little look back at the drafts from the last 5 years, back to 2020. They've got 11 of the 48 drafted players who are useful. None of them are Pro Bowlers, except for Gonzalez. And I guess Mac on a technicality. I mean, not Mac. Well, Mac.
Yeah, Mac and Drake.
Mac and Drake may.
Mm-hmm.
But 11 of 48 are still here and can be referred to as useful. That's insanely bad. And they have to be aggressive in the draft to make sure that they're getting every single guy they get is useful, just like they did in 1995, Ted Johnson.
Yes, sir.
Oh, he's sucking
yes,
up.
sir. Thank you for that. Bringing that up, Tom. I'm curious because you and I have kind of thought similarly throughout this, kind of draft process when it comes to that 4th overall pick. And I just hear, them kind of kicking the tires on those guys in the offseason, those edge rushers, that, maybe, just maybe, that 4th overall pick, it doesn't feel like it's a foregone conclusion that if Will Campbell's there for him, that they're going to take him. They might go a different direction, maybe like a Jalen Walker, a guy that they're talking about is maybe a guy that would fit Vrabel's scheme. Do you think I just feel like this for this regime, this is a big, obviously, draft. Do you think this regime, this front office has the chutzpah, the guts, the guile to maybe make a pick at 4 that is unpopular? Because I think the popular, safe pick is Will Campbell. Do you think this organization has, the guts to maybe have a different opinion on a player that you and I talk about, that maybe they would go that direction as opposed to the safe pick?
I think that they could be tempted to buck conventional wisdom. Given Vrabel's comments the other day about left tackle and primarily about him saying the word premier position. Now, Jalen Walker is playing a premier position, but he's kind of a hybrid. He's an edge/linebacker in a way that, your normal edge guys are not. A lot of them are referred to as linebackers. They're not. They just pass rush. This guy does play at the second level and has, but he's dynamic. He's the son of a coach. Every time you hear him talk, he's just impressive as hell. I think that's the great thing about the Patriots' opportunity there for. The concerns about, am I going to get guys who are good for the program, whether it's Will Campbell or Jalen Walker or Mason Graham or Tyler Warren or Membu, all of them seem to be very, very, very credible, hardworking, no flies on them kind of guys. But when it comes to bucking conventional wisdom, I think that they should. I think that they should take the guy who's going to walk in and make an impact at that position, and you can plug him there for 5 to 7 years. That's why I continue to come back to Tyler Warren, and that's unconventional, but it's also narrow-minded if you think that it's not useful to have a guy who can catch 85 passes for 1,000 yards every friggin' year.
And that's why I keep coming back to, based on your logic there, Tom, Ashton Genty, because nobody is better at their position in my estimation. But then again, I'd probably get fired for drafting a running back 4th overall with the host of needs this team has, but we'll find out in a week. Now, that being said,
let me say this.
Please.
Let me say this on Genty.
Please.
They are so fungible in terms of you can Antonio Gibson's better than the back that the Patriots have at the top of their food chain. He's a better player. And the year before, Ezekiel Elliott was a better player than Ramondre Stevenson, too. I mean, you can get guys to make you 4 and 5 yards. Is Ashton Genty going to be Christian McCaffrey? Is he going to be Saquon Barkley? If he is, okay, fine. If not, then don't do it.
Right. Now, that said, one pathway to possibly being able to make a dangerous but possibly dynamic trade like that, or a pick like that, would be maybe calling the Raiders and seeing if they have any interest in dealing disgruntled left tackle Kolton Miller, who's highly regarded around the league, good, a pro football focused darling. Have you heard anything about that? Did that just pop up on your radar like it did recently for the rest of us, that like they're not negotiating and he might be available?
Yeah, just the rumblings around the league that are starting to, what do they call that, chatter?
Yeah.
In the government?
The hubbub.
A lot of chatter.
Yeah.
A lot of chatter.
Scuttlebutt.
And I think there's idle time. The hay's in the barn with most of these picks. So now it turns to chatter about who could be had, who might be had. And when I've talked to GMs in the past, and this year, a lot of it is they're asking us as reporters what we know and feel and sense around our teams. And that is something that goes on. So it's really a trade of information that goes on. And oftentimes it's a lot of smoke. And I think that, could it come together? 1,000,000%. What I think the Patriots' first inclination, Fitzy, would be to trade down. Unbelievably, that would be the first thing that I would try to do. Do we have anything? Does anybody want to come up here and give us more so that we can go ahead and get all positions kind of filled and still move down and get a very good player in the top 10? I think that would be their first inclination. But as Mike Florio pointed out earlier today, this is the latest point at which there have been 0 trades and every team still owns all 32 teams still own their first round pick.
Tom Curran, NBC Sports Boston, here on WEEI Afternoons. And I wanted to reference that. The other day, I believe the press conference kicked off with Curran asking about phone calls, trade phone calls. And Mike Vrabel said, well, it's a little early for that. And we wondered, is it a little early, or is no one really that interested and those calls aren't going to come? Are you just sort of delaying the inevitable? If they want to trade, do you think there will be any opportunities, or are they going to have to be stuck there and pick there?
I think they're going to get lowballed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I really do. Say, for instance, Abdul Carter falls to 4, then you're either going to run to the podium or say, does anybody want to give me this year's first on the top 10 and next year's first too?
Ooh.
Whatever bad team is out there willing to do something like that. But I don't think you're going to get that if Carter and Hunter are gone. And I don't think that would be their first inclination. I just think that it's overwhelming how much better those guys are than everyone else.
Hey, Tom, I'm just curious. This is a fun little question. If there's a lot of people that when Belichick took the job at UNC said, well, he's going to be irrelevant, not going to be a story. I mean, if you know Bill Belichick, like you and I know and others, the stories weren't going to go away. There's going to be storylines that are going to follow him down there. Have you been following what's going on down there? And do you have any thoughts at all about how it's been going for him down at UNC?
I'm glad you asked that. I just finished reading a story on The Athletic by Stuart Mandel, who I'm sure you guys have heard of in the past, longtime college football writer. And the story was basically, I've not changed my mind about how things are going to go for Bill Belichick in North Carolina. 5 reasons that he hasn't changed his mind in observations so far. He didn't think it would end well for Bill down there. The 5 observations he's made is Bill is intent on running it. The only outward signs he's giving, hasn't spoken to reporters since the initial day, didn't really open up spring practice. When he did open up a practice, guys are running around with no numbers on. There was no access to Bill. And all they talk about is, we're getting guys ready for the pros. When they bill somebody as having spoken to the team, it's Rob Ninkovich, Super Bowl champion, or David Andrews, Super Bowl champion. So it's very pro-oriented. Lombardi said we're going to try and be the 33rd NFL team. So to me, he's running it that way. When you look at the recruits, they've done pretty well so far. They're 11th or 12th, according to Mandel.
In the ACC?
In terms of attracting, nationally, in terms of attracting recruits. But they've got way more guys under agreement, and a lot of teams are still filling out their rosters, so that might go down. But I just, from rumblings I heard, and this is not recent, this is a month or two ago, they're not loving the Bill Belichick experience if you're an everyday employee down there, which is probably what a lot of the people here in 2000 felt when they came aboard, when Bill came aboard and said, I don't know if I like this.
Mm-hmm. Stop smiling, Ted.
It's uncomfortable.
Jeepers creepers. Wow. I mean, Tom, I read this morning, the spring portal has opened up 10,127 players. That sounds like a fun talent pool.
A couple left UNC, actually.
My God.
Oh, yeah, the quarterback and their best pass rusher said, I'm out.
Anyway, last question, real quick. So one of our producers here hipped us to a little cold open you did the other night on NBC Sports Boston, a little walk and talk, talking about players you think that would be here in a couple of years, and you only said 4 maybe tops like that you could see, like Drake May, Gonzo, Milton Williams, and Keon White. Are those your 4 pillars or building blocks or of this Patriots team right now, and the rest of it thus is kind of like disposable?
I don't think disposable in the immediate, but when you project out, what's the core of the Patriots football team right now? Mm-hmm. Who's going to be here when Drake May gets good? Morgan Moses won't be here. Mike Onwenu, that will be a coin flip, 3 more years. Kyle Duggar, he's an older player. Would he get another contract coming up after that? Peppers will be gone. Carlton Davis will be gone. We'll see what happens with Robert Spillane. Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, they're 50-50 to make it through to 2026. So Kendrick Bourne will be gone. Stevenson will probably be gone. Henry and Hooper will be gone. So Diggs will be gone. So to me, the point is, just like I was referencing Ted, and while it is a nice back rub for him, those drafts were amazing. The 1993 draft, I think you got Troy Brown, Andrew Bledsoe, and other guys. 1994 was Willie. 1995 was Ted, Curtis Martin, and Ty Law, correct?
Yep.
96 was Terry Glenn and probably other useful guys.
Lawyer and Teddy, yep.
Yes, they were useful.
Very useful.
Then Parcells left, and you got Cedric Shaw.
Right.
So it's and the same thing happened in 2000 through 2005. You're getting Vince Wilfork and Ty Warren and Richard Seymour and Matt Light. You're not just getting 2 guys like they got last year. You're not just getting Demario Douglas level, nice, average, maybe a player who's in the top 15 among slot receivers, but no one's going crazy to say I need Demario Douglas on my team. They have to get good players over and over again in this draft.
So in 7 days, in a little over 4 hours, what's going to happen? What's your prediction?
They're going to try like hell to trade down, and then they're going to make my dreams come true with Tyler Warren.
You are so full of it. You're full of it.
I love it. Hope he's right.
I actually predicted you would say that before we did this segment. I said he's going to stick with his pick, and he's smart to do that because if it happens, you can take the all-time great victory lap.
Absolutely, because no one's saying
Easy pickings.
Yeah.
All right, Tom.
Thanks, Tom.
We'll talk to you next week. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Take care.
Thank you, Tom.
That was Tom Curran, NBC Sports Boston.